I've been watching the superhero shows on the CW for what is becoming years, and I have, for the most part, enjoyed it. But in the latest seasons of the biggest shows, I've seen a certain decline in quality, and yes, the shows can be very exciting at times, but more than I would like, I find myself asking, why is this happening? That shouldn't be happening. This is pointless. Was that a plot hole? Did the writers forget that certain characters exist? We've all probably heard the phrase, less is more, at least once in our lives. And if you haven't heard it before, get ready to hear it plenty of times throughout this video, because it is very important. Less is more is the notion that simplicity and clarity leads to a good design, in which the subject is reduced to its necessary elements. This phrase is commonly used to describe architecture, but because of its meaning, that saying has been adopted to pretty much every field there is. Even our dear superhero TV shows have been affected by this now too, or more precisely, the lack of it. The thing is, less is more doesn't seem to apply to the superhero shows on the CW anymore. More is more, and more is what the people want, and more is what the people will get. More superheroes, more powers, more villains, more suits, more shows, just more and more. Less is more doesn't seem to apply to the superhero shows on the CW anymore, and the quality of the shows suffer for it. A quick disclaimer here, I am a huge fan of the Arrowverse shows. As I said, I've been watching them for years, and the reason why I'm criticizing them is because I want them to be great, I want them to be the best, and I want them to succeed. As a fan, you're allowed to see the faults because no shows are perfect. You are allowed to not blindly swallow everything they throw at you when it lacks logic and continuity. So, here we go! I'm going to cut right to the chase. The reason why the superhero shows get gradually worse, in my opinion, is because they simply get overcrowded. There are too many characters, too many balls in the air at the same time, and there's too many to hold up. It gets easier to juggle when there aren't quite so many, and the solution is to drop some of them, and maybe that is what they should do. One problem is the fans, or at least the most vocal fans. Or the writers perhaps, who don't really understand the concept of less is more. Fans get thrilled when a series introduces new heroes and adapt them from comics to the small screen, like now, most recently, Supergirl's Legion of Superheroes. And thus, I find myself asking, is it really worth it though? The initial joy of seeing your favorite superhero brought to life just for them to wither away to a shell of their former selves? Because it will happen at some point, according to the CW formula. New heroes are introduced too often, and when this happens, the current heroes become old news in order to make space for the new ones, and so on and so on. Let's use Supergirl as an example again. Do you remember when Martian Manhunter actually did something? Because I barely do. Recently, Supergirl just introduced the Legion of Superheroes, which is kinda cool, though their fight scenes were terribly underwhelming. So, while the Legion is out fighting, the only thing Martian Manhunter now does is to pretend to be Kara and apparently hang out at the DO with Winn, who has no character growth either. In the last fight that we actually saw Martian Manhunter in was when he had to stay out of battle in order to hold a support beam. Yeah, you go, Martian Manhunter! There's not even space for every member of the Legion to shine either. When they're not in action, we don't have the time to spend to build their characters, and when they're in battle, there's too many of them for the writers to divide their focus into, ultimately causing all of them to be less than what they can be. In the fight scenes, the Legion now just looks plain stupid, and how they are supposed to be all that great is kind of beyond me at this point. With new heroes, the current heroes become old news. There is simply not enough screen time to develop every character properly anymore and create personal, truly high-stakes stories. The result of making everyone into a superhero now is that the writers get yet another hero to try to make relevant, and when they fail, they have no justification to why some characters are not around. Some characters just go missing certain episodes or just hang around doing nothing. But I believe that the story, and then as a result the show, would be better if the writers didn't have these extra heroes to try to make relevant, and then they wouldn't have to make shallow and predictable excuses to why some of them aren't around, or make stupid mistakes in fights, or are just useless. I get that sometimes though, that some characters have to be sidelined, because if all the show's available heroes got together, they will overpower the villain just like that. On the CW shows, except Legends, the shows are titled after the one main character. The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and Black Lightning too, but Black Lightning is kinda separate, so we're not gonna look at that right now. But on all these shows, in order to make the side characters relevant, they have to make the main character more inept than they need to be, to a wider extent than what is realistic, to the point where it gets truly annoying. I don't have anything against the team dynamics on the shows, but sometimes it gets a bit too crowded. Do you really need several characters with similar skill sets? You don't really need that, do you? Also, don't make the superheroes super stupid just so some side character can tell them what to do. I think that the original Team Arrow is a great example on a simple but great team dynamic that was a big part of Arrow's great second season. We have Oliver, but he's not extra stupid or makes silly mistakes, but he does need help from a team because the team complements him in a natural way. Felicity is there because she has amazing tech skills that truly benefit the team, skills that Oliver couldn't possibly possess, and Diggle was Oliver's friend, fighter, and partner in the field. They had everything they needed and they were the perfect amount of people. It didn't feel too crowded at all. We had time to develop bonds and care about all these characters. The focus was around the main superhero Arrow, but they managed to make the other side characters heroes in their own rights as well, but not necessarily caved heroes. Sometimes less is more, quality above quantity. You don't necessarily need a lot of characters to create great stories, you need characters you actually care about. You get invested and so even a simple story becomes interesting. I'd rather have 2 characters that I know a lot about, that I care about, instead of 7 who were all shallow. I'd rather have one superhero shine in their show at the expense of introducing a lot of dear comic book characters to life, because I want that one superhero to shine, that one superhero to be done properly. Hey there, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do you agree with me? Are there too many heroes on the CW superhero shows, or do you disagree? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, regardless of not if you agree with me or not. It only takes 1 second and it really helps my channel, so thank you again. I can't wait to chat with you all in the comments, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye!